this computer. All right. All right, let's start recording. All right, very good. Good evening, everyone, and good morning to Achilles from Zambia. I think he's the only one who's dialing in from the other side of the world. And we also have Thomas. I believe Thomas is from San Diego. He just registered for the class, so welcome, Thomas. This is our third session in this series of 12-week series. So we'll do a bit of a review at what we did last week, and then we go forward. Thomas, did you want to say something?
Oh, what's up, sir?
I said, did you want to say something?
I'm not sure, sir. I can't confirm now.
Okay, that's fine. All right, no problem. There will be plenty of chance to have conversation and get engaged in the conversation. So I'm going to mute you for now. All right, so let me share my screen so we can do the review from. That's not what I want to be on exactly. There we go. All right. So last week we started with the our initial goals. We reviewed some of the initial goals that we have set for ourselves, whether they're being material or spiritual goals. Everybody shared their ideas of wanting to buy things, things that we like to have, achieving our spiritual goals. What is our point? Why are we even on earth? And then, of course, the fact that our temptations and desires are constantly pulling us away. The negative temptations and desires are pulling us away they're preventing us from achieving some of the goals that we do have. And then, do we worry about what's happening to us? As far as our life necessities. And then what keeps up at night? I really love what Daniel said last week. He said he dreams of people robbing them and they're becoming poor. I hope that doesn't happen to him. And then also, what do we do with our free time? And the reason we had these questions is because the sacred writings that reviewed, I did reorganize a little bit since last time, which I think it would make more sense. So there was a question, what is the miracle of a single flower? And while there are so many different miracles in there, the one we wanted to concentrate on is what comes from the Bible that basically says, if God created flower that and provides everything that it needs, sunlight, water, nutrients, and everything, do we think that we are any less than a flower? So the point of concentration is this last part of it where it says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added on to you. So basically it says, don't worry about your life necessities, it will be provided, but given that we do walk in the path of God, that, and again, we're not preaching any particular religion. And if anyone doesn't believe in God or spirituality, that's fine. We are not imposing that on anyone either. So then we looked at, if we are not here to worry about our life necessities, then why are we here? What is the purpose of being here? So that came down to three distinctive areas. One is to know God and to worship him and to get close to him. For those who believe that there is life after death, after our body goes down to earth, our spirit continues to live. And then the third one is to be a service to humanity. This is an ever progressing civilization. It will continue to move forward. So we need to be part of it and not just be a bystander. And then again, our temptations and desires, there's a purpose for them. It's like the test system. Just as when we go to school and we learn things, we need to be tested to make sure we have learned. That's what the purpose of desires and temptations are. And these days, continuously, we are being tempted by materialism, by some areas not being enough laws, laxity and morality, entertainment, advertising. These days, our children are being born with a device in their hand, so we're constantly being bombarded by stuff, what we see on the news that occupies us, and then obviously there's social media in there too. So tonight, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be concentrating on, there was one paragraph that we read from the Bible that talked about storing treasures in heaven and not on earth. And obviously treasures on earth talks about material stuff while they're needed, but we don't have to be concentrate on them, but then developing the treasures, which are our characteristics. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see who has come in. We have a lot of our friends joining in, and we can start. Usually what we like to start with is if there is any question, and more importantly, who did you share your learning from last week? So I'll give some time to, if anybody wants to volunteer. If not, we'll call on some of our friends. You can put it in the chat, or we would love, since we are a small group, we would love to hear your voice. If you had a chance to discuss any of what we talked about last week with anyone outside the group, friends, family, grandparents. Oh, it's a very quiet group tonight. So who should we pick on? Jackie, I'm going to start with you. Since you're learning to facilitate this program, you got to practice it. Did you have a chance to talk to anyone? You're still muted.
I started to talk to my husband about what we learned last week. The people are different and has very strong, their own view to say the word. When I talk about the faith and money, I found that it's hard to convince people something, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like take time to make myself to understand, and how we can look at the money from a different perspective. Yeah, this is what I feel. It's hard to introduce what you learn to the people who don't believe what you said. But I guess take time. Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Let's call upon one of our youth. Let's see who I want to pick on to. Paula, if you like to turn on your camera and unmute yourself.
Wait, what was the question again?
So the question is, did you get a chance? So one of our assignments from last week was, did you get a chance to talk to anyone about what we learned last week together?
Yeah, I sort of like talked to my mom about like what we learned, because like we're in the same class, like this class, and like we discussed about it and like how to like properly like manage like finance, and yeah, and I sort of got to talk to her about it, but not really.
Okay, all right, well that's a great start. That's one of the points that we really try to make, is parents and their children and youth begin to discuss. This is something that normally it does not happen. It's not normal for parents to do that. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it just has not been. So it's great that you're starting that conversation. It will be also great to talk to other people outside of this group too. Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Jade, it's all yours. Do you want to present, or should I present the screen?
Either is fine. You can share if you would like, or I can share.
But go ahead and share. That allows me to monitor the chat a little easier.
Okay. So I will go ahead and share my screen. And just to make sure, can everyone see the screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, great. And does everyone know how to get to their online worksheet or workbook, Alex?
I think so, yeah. Many of the participants have done their assignments. I think they're good in that area.
Great, okay. So just to introduce myself, my name is Jade. I am one of the facilitators, and I've been with Mind Treasures now for several years, surprisingly. And it is a great program, and I'm looking forward to our session today. We're going to, as Alex said, we're going to be talking about human treasures. But I first want to start off our conversation with, and I want this to be very interactive, so I'm going to be asking a lot of questions, both in the chat and to you orally. And so I just want you to feel free to unmute your mic and respond, or put responses in the chat, because it's really helpful to have a dialogue going back and forth so that we can discuss some of these things that we're going to be talking about. So with that, the first thing that I wanted to ask everybody is whether or not you think that we are born rich. In the chat, go ahead and tell me if you think that we were born rich. You can put yes, but tell me why, right? If you think we were born rich, say, yes, I think we're born rich, and why you think that. And if you think the answer is no, go ahead and put no, and explain why you think that we are not born rich, right? If you want to answer orally, you can go ahead and unmute your mic, and you can share that way as well. So do we have any volunteers? So I see in the chat, Jackie has says yes, that she feels that we are born rich. Tell me why you think that way, Jackie. Why do you think that we're born rich? And what does that mean to you to be born rich? What does that mean?
I think everyone has a talent. So when you're born, you do have a talent. Maybe some people lucky enough, you grow up with the environmental and the situation is like your parents and treat you very encouraging way. And also you might have a good teacher, mentor to help you to grow up. Maybe some people has very good potential, so they dig out their talent, so they're rich. This is what I think. I look at talent as a rich.
I was just going to pick up on that because that's very interesting that you said that, because the one thing that you didn't mention is money, right? So oftentimes from the society that we live in, people often associate being rich with how much money you have or how much money that your parents have. And so oftentimes someone will say, I wasn't born rich because I didn't come from a family with money, right? But as we will learn today, and as we will see through learning about these human treasures, that it has nothing to do with money, right? Being rich has nothing to do with money at all. It's about this potential that lies within that we are born with and that we can develop over time. I also see in the chat that Irma says, yes, we are born with a wealth of potential. So along the same lines of what Jackie was saying, it has nothing to do with money. And Kenneth says the USA is still a very nice country to live in with plenty of opportunities. So yes, we are born rich. Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys are seeing that being rich has nothing to do with money, because as we will learn about some of the treasures today, we will see that yes, we are all born rich and it has nothing to do with money. So
can we ask one of the youth to participate in this too? So I'm going to call upon, let's see, I'll pick Jasmine. Jasmine, if you can unmute yourself and tell us whether you feel you were born rich or not.
I think that every person is born rich just because like maybe our situations are not the same and our opportunities are not the same, but when we're born we all have things that we're good at and or things that we're bad at, and in a sense that's just kind of our own personal riches, if that makes sense.
Very good. Thank you so much. That was great.
Thank you for sharing that, Jasmine. Yeah, that's definitely true, right? We each have our own individual treasures, as we will see, and what one is strong in is totally different than another person. I will go ahead and read the first quote here on the screen, and if you have your online worksheet up, you can go ahead and follow along. It says, regard man as a mine, rich in gems of inestimable value. Education can alone cause it to reveal its treasures and enable mankind to benefit therefrom. And this quote is really about understanding how one can seek more information about those treasures that you are born with, right? And that happens through revealing over time from education. And once you find out about those treasures and develop those treasures, you can begin to share those treasures, and that can benefit others. And I see in the chat as well, is it Khalees? Is that how you pronounce the name? If I'm pronouncing it correctly or pronouncing it incorrectly? Oh, that is correct. Okay, great. Thank you. Has said yes, because God has given us resources that we can utilize to prosper. That is very true, right? And all of these things are inside of us, but we might not know them until we discover them, right? And Khalees, can you go ahead and read for me the second quote that starts with just as? Are you able to see that on your screen?
Just as treasures are uncovered from the earth, so virtue appears from good deeds, and wisdom appears from a pure and a peaceful mind. To walk safely through the maze of human life, one needs the light of wisdom and the guidance of virtue, Buddha.
Thank you so much for doing that. And what does that quote mean to you, right? So we're talking about these human treasures that are inside of us that we develop over time, and we reveal them over time, and some might be stronger than others and some might not be, right? But in that quote, it's talking about how those treasures, right, they come from light, right? And that light translates to wisdom, right? And so we can develop that and we can share it with others. And we also use, if you see right underneath that where it says the life of a diamond, we use this example when we teach in the classrooms as well. And it's really explaining how we might not see some of the treasures that we have internal, just like you don't see all of the benefits of a diamond when it might be lying on the ground, because it's seen first as this rough stone here, right? And so it's not until you take that rough stone and you polish it, right? And then after you polish it, which takes time, right? It doesn't just happen instantaneously. It takes time to polish rocks. I know when I was a kid, that used to be one of my hobbies. I used to polish rocks, and then I would cut them and see what was inside all of the beautiful gems. And so this example really speaks to me because it reminds me of my childhood, as well as seeing these rocks that would just kind of look like a regular rock on the ground. You wouldn't even think what might be inside. But it's not until you polish it and you take the time to polish it, and then once you cut the rock and open it, you see the beautiful gem that's inside. And these human treasures are the same, right? They might not look like what's inside on the outside. And then it's not until you start developing it that you really start to see all of the benefits that can come from that treasure. And then once, similar to like this example, once you apply light to it, it just starts to spread. And that treasure can start to affect not only yourself, but affect other people once you start sharing it with others. So with that, the very first activity that I know I've seen some of you have already started on this in your workbook. And that activity is starting to identify what some of those human treasures that we're talking about are that you have, right? And which ones are strong, that you're already strong in, and which ones might need to be worked on to become a little bit stronger. And so this first activity, you are to decide the treasures that you are strong in. And we usually say pick around 3 or 4. And then the ones that you would like to work on to become stronger, right? And for those of you that have already done that, go ahead and put that in the chat, right? Go ahead and put maybe at least one, either that you're strong in the chat, and explain how you're strong in that area, maybe give an example. And if you are able to relate it to money, tell us, what does it have to do with money, right? And if you would rather unmute your mic and share that way, feel free to do that. If you would rather type it in the chat, feel free to do that as well. And for those of you that haven't done this yet, you can take a couple of moments and go ahead and go through the list right now and just choose the ones that you feel. This is self-identification. So you're saying, I myself feel that I am strong in this area, or I myself feel that I need work in this area and I can work on it to become stronger. And in order to do that, you would just click on the arrow right next to the word, and you'll see that the drop-down list comes up, and you can either select strong or select needs work. So do we have anyone that would like to share that has already done this activity or that has done it right now? Can I call on Thomas? Thomas, are you there?
Yes.
Jade, I'm sorry, Thomas, can you hold, Jade, there's a request if you can stop sharing so some of the friends can see their own worksheets.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Thank you. Go ahead.
No problem.
Sorry, Thomas.
Oh, was for me, sir? Oh, what's the question, sir?
I was just asking Thomas if you would like to share one of your human treasures, either that you're strong in or one that you would like to work on to become stronger.
I don't say it's a stronger.
Oh, okay. So one that you would like to become stronger in, which human treasure is that from the list? Were you able to go through the list?
I filled the list, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So did you choose one?
I didn't choose one.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll give you a few moments if you want to choose one. We would love to have you share. But while you're doing that, I think Ken has put in the chat that he is strong on commitment, caring, kindness, and am generous with my money in appropriate situations. So
Right.
that's 4 different human treasures that Ken has shared with us that he is strong in. That's great. Can you give us maybe an example of one of those, Ken, of how you are strong in that area, and maybe relate it to money if you're able to? And you don't have to put it in the chat. You can just unmute yourself.
Let's see here now, about 7 years ago, I actually got hooked up with a friend from, well, first of all, I was blessed in that I've been in the gamut in terms of money in life. 20 years ago, I'm a pharmacist, and I was having problems with my pharmacy. I ended up declaring bankruptcy. But 7 years ago, God blessed me through my aunts in that my aunt had a real rough personality, and everybody thought she didn't like anybody. Well, my sister called me about 3 weeks after she passed away, and she says, "You promise you'll never say anything bad about Aunt Eva again?" And I'm like, "Well, why? What happened?" And she said, "You're not gonna believe this." I said, "What?" My aunt was a Ford Motor Company executive. No, she was a GM executive, and my uncle was a Ford Motor Company executive. And my sister said, she says, "Well, for as bad as we thought Eva was, my aunt and uncle did not have any children." Well, she left me, my sister, and my cousin each with $1.3 million. Well, about a year after that, I ran into a guy I was very good friends with in middle school, and we became good friends, and he owned a construction company. So I gave him about $75,000 tax-free, interest-free, just to get his construction company back on the ground, and we've developed a very nice friendship since then. So, and I'm also very generous in giving and supporting to causes in my church, and whenever else I run into opportunities that I feel are, legitimate opportunities that people need help.
Thank you for sharing, Ken. That was a great example of how you're generous. I just want to follow up with that and say, can you only be generous with money?
Only be generous with money.
Is money the only thing that, I know I kind of gave you a lead in to say, how does that treasure relate to money? But I'm just curious to know.
Well, you can be generous with your time too. And when I was in high school, I was a volunteer at a hospital, and when I was in college, I was actually a volunteer in a pharmacy, and there too I volunteer on boards at church. So you can be generous with your time also.
That is very true, and we're going to talk about in a later lesson about generosity and all the different things that you can be generous with, not just money. But thank you for sharing, Ken. That was great. Daniel, I see that you're upside down right now, but I would like to call on you to see if you would be willing to share as well. What is one of the human treasures that either you're strong in or one that you would like to work on to become stronger? Were you able to go through the list?
No, we couldn't do anything because we couldn't really write anything because we could only like look at it.
Oh, okay. So if you are you looking at the list now?
I feel like I need to work on how I save money.
Okay. So maybe that might relate to the human treasure of patience. Do you know what patience means?
Yes, if you have to wait, you don't grumble. And
Do you feel like you're strong in patience?
yeah, pretty good.
You're pretty good. So if you aren't able to get something that you want right away, you feel like you have the ability to wait for it and not be anxious about it or be upset because you can't have it right away. Would you say that's about right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. That's a good example of how you are strong in a human treasure. I also see in the chat relating to patience, Jackie has said that that is a treasure, a human treasure that she would like to work on to become stronger. I know I can relate to that, Jackie. Patience is definitely something that is I struggle with as well in terms of wanting to have things more instantly. And I think that is definitely a product of our society, right? We live in an instant gratification where we are used to getting things much faster and faster, especially as technology continues to develop. I think it also relates to our inability to have patience as well. And you followed up by saying, personal finance is a life journey. When we start to work on saving goals or paying off debt or investing money for retirement, we need patience. That's definitely true. Since any goal can't be completed overnight, which needs us to achieve it step by step. For example, there's no such thing as overnight success. When you're investing in the stock market, otherwise it should be called as gambling instead of investment. That is true. That is a great example. And I think a lot of people think that, particularly with stocks, that they can play it as a fast money game, and it doesn't necessarily work out that way. It's more of a long game. And so patience is definitely a human treasure that is needed, especially I think a lot of people saw that in the pandemic with our stock market here in the United States and the effects that it had. And history can tell us that as well. If you look at the history of cycles of the stock market and of businesses, it's just, that's how those things go. And patience is definitely something that is helpful to have when you're dealing with investment. All right.
In one of the in the financial coaching training program I'm in, they say consistency over time and visibility over time equal profitability, meaning even a profitable business takes time to develop.
That is true. All right. Well, thank you both Ken and Jackie and Daniel for sharing those examples. Is there any?
Ms. Jade, can I call on a couple of youth that have been really quiet?
You sure can, Alex.
Kenny and Audrey, either one of you guys, if you'd like to open your mic and share with us one of the treasures, one of your treasures that you're either strong or you like to make them work on them and make them stronger. Let's see. Got to put them on spot. Otherwise, they're not going to participate. They're not going to talk. All right. Well, maybe they can think about it and then there comes Audrey. All right, Audrey, go ahead.
I think something that I need to work on is to
Audrey, did we lose your audio? Your audio is really low.
I don't think we can quite hear you. Are you able maybe to speak more into the speaker?
Hello?
Yes.
That's great.
Okay. So something that I think I need to work on better is to
All right. Well, maybe you can give it some thought and then come back. But thank you for unmuting. I know last week you had some issues with your microphone. So Audrey, give it some thought, and then you can always either put it in the chat or unmute yourself later and tell us what is that one treasure that you like to make it stronger. All right, Miss Jade, I think we can continue on.
Before we continue, I wanted to circle back to Thomas. I didn't want him to think that we forgot about him. Thomas, did you have a chance to choose one either that you're strong in or one that you want to work on to become stronger?
What's that, ma'am?
I said, did you have a chance to go through the list to choose one of the human treasures that you're either strong in or that you want to work on to become stronger?
I would go stronger, ma'am.
Okay, so one that you want to become stronger in?
No, I'm not sure it call.
Okay, no worries, no pressure. You can always go in on your own, and he has access to his workbook. I know, Alex, you said he just registered, so I want you to feel free if you have any issues in getting into that to reach out to us and let us know. Okay.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Well, what time is it done? Is it 8:15 or?
It ends at 8:15.
Is it every Friday or is it one Friday a day?
It is every week, every Friday.
Yeah, until when's the last day?
It's in April. Thomas, why don't you send me a message in the chat so the class can go on and I can respond to your questions. How's that?
Sounds good, sir. Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. Thank you.
All right. And Audrey, I did see your note in the chat. If you wanted to answer in the chat, that's fine. If that's easier as opposed to unmuting yourself. All right. So with that, we will keep going on and we'll talk about some of the human treasures that we have identified and relate it to the muscles that are in our body. So in our body, we actually have a lot of muscles, right? And some of them we use every day. And so we know them, like our biceps, our triceps, we see them, we know what they're called, but there's a lot of them that we don't know, right? Or that we're not familiar with because we might not see. And that's very similar to these treasures that we're talking about, right? Until we develop them, we might not be aware that we even have them. And in our body, I think in our curriculum, it states that we have about over 640 muscles inside of our body, which is a lot of muscles, right? But they're, like I was saying, some of them we use all the time, and some of them we don't use as much, and so we might not be as aware of them. I know for sure I can't name all 640 muscles. Alex, can you?
I'm not even gonna try because there's so many of them that are hidden. I only know about the most important and the most dangerous ones.
Oh, the most dangerous muscle? I don't even know if I want to ask what that is. I will leave that
that's one we gotta know. I always ask that in the classes that I do. So whenever you're ready, we can ask that question.
Well, maybe I'll save that to the end.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, so just like the muscles inside of our body, we have to work on them to strengthen them, right? And just like that, our human treasures, we have to work on them to strengthen them. They don't just become strong automatically. Sometimes we might have areas that we're stronger in than others, but if we don't work on it or continue to develop it, it can become weak. Daniel is curious. He says, what is the most dangerous muscle? We will say at the end, Daniel, that will be kind of the prize at the end to know what is the most dangerous muscle? Because I don't know what it is either. So I'm curious as well. But we will practice. Remember that treasure that you said that you're good in, patience. We're going to practice it right now and wait till the end of the session, and then we will find out what is the most dangerous muscle. Okay. So from those muscles that we work on to become stronger, we can develop more human treasures that we can share with others, right? So we might be weak in a particular area, and then we can work on it and it becomes stronger. And then it could be something that we can share how we became strong in that particular area with someone else. All right. And from that, we also can learn about how we might be able to share different treasures with other people. So with that, I want to pose another question in the chat, or I can open up to the mic as well. But I want to know, I'm going to ask this question. We always say in our classrooms that money is like chocolate, right? And the kids usually go really crazy about that because most people like chocolate. I know I like chocolate. And we don't really think about money being like chocolate, right? But I want to ask in the chat, or feel free to unmute your mic, explain to me how might money be like chocolate, right? How is money like chocolate? And maybe if you can give an example. So feel free to go ahead and put that in the chat, or feel free to unmute your mic and share with us how money might be like chocolate. Jasmine says, very tempting to use it up quickly. So chocolate is very tempting, yes. And by her saying that to use it up quickly, I think she's meaning like to eat a lot of it very fast, right? Is that a good thing, right? If we have a lot of chocolate and we consume it and eat it very quickly, like Jasmine is saying, is that good or is that bad? If you think that's good, put good in the chat. Or if you think that's bad, you can put bad. Jackie says addictive for some people. Chocolate can be very addictive for people. And Jasmine says it's not healthy if you eat it all the time. Ken says it can be sweet as long as you don't consume it too fast. So it's interesting that you guys are describing all of these things, because these same things can be described also about money, right? It can be a good thing, but it also could be, as Alex was saying, something that's dangerous, right? That the dangerous muscle that we're waiting to learn about, right? It can also be not so good if we don't use it properly, which is part of the reason why we are learning about all of these different treasures and how they apply to money and how they relate to our finances. Daniel says, if you eat too much, you will be not healthy. And if it is money, you will be poor. Great, Daniel. Thank you for sharing that. Not only did you talk about how it is to eat a lot of chocolate, but you also tied it into money, right? And so money and chocolate, we say often, is if you eat a lot of it, it's called what we call money fat, right? And to be money fat is like if you were to keep all of your money to yourself, right? And you didn't spend it, you didn't share it with others, you just kind of were like a hoarder, right? That's not necessarily a good thing, right? But in the reverse, if you were to spend all of your money, or if you gave all of your chocolate away, right? Is that good or is that bad? If you think that if you gave all of your money away, or you chose to give all of your chocolate away, that that's a good thing, go ahead and put good in the chat. If you think that that's a bad thing, go ahead and put bad in the chat. So we can see how many of you think that it's good and how many, there's no right or wrong answer. We're just sharing what our thoughts are about what we think, right? If you give all of your chocolate away, is that good or is that bad? Or if you give all of your money away, is that good or is that bad? Jackie says, the good thing about the chocolate is if you consume it in a healthy way, which can make you feel joy, it is like money. If you use it in the right way, you can make yourself happy and make others happy too. That is very true, right? So it's not necessarily all bad, and it's not necessarily all good. If we keep all of our money to ourselves and we don't spend any of it, right? We might not have the necessities that we need to live, right? Food, water, clothing, shelter, because we're keeping it, we're just saving it all. We're not spending any of it, right? And the same way is if we spend all of it and we don't save any of it, like we share it, we spend it, we might not have money for some of the things that we might want, right? So there's a balance that we will find in a later lesson. It's in the moderation lesson of how do we find a balance. And a lot of the times why we relate it back to money, chocolate being like money, is because we make all of these decisions about chocolate, right? Do we want to eat it now? Do we want to give it away? Do we want to save it for later? These are some of the same decisions that we also make about money, right? So we like to relate the two together, not because money has any specific relation to chocolate, but some of the things that we think about when we make the decision of do we want to eat chocolate now, or some of those other decisions that I had just named, also we have to make those same decisions when it comes to money. In the chat, I see Daniel is saying good and bad sometimes. Ken has said that it's bad, that is self-negligence, right? So I assume Ken is talking about when we give all of our money away and we don't have enough money to take care of our life necessities, right? Those food, water, clothing, and shelter. Thomas says he thinks that it's good. Some is bad for chocolate. It's getting too much for chocolate.
So
And then
let's hear from other youth. Paula, you've been kind of quiet. It's like if you don't call upon them, they're not going to put anything in the chat and they're not going to participate either. So Paula, what are your thoughts? Is having lots of chocolate, or for that matter, lots of money, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
I think if you use it the right way, it's a good thing. But if you like use it too much or like spend too much of it, it's not very good for your health, or like, yeah.
Okay. And another question that I usually like to pose, I'm not sure Ms. JD didn't send it to me, but if we keep a lot of chocolate around, let's say if we just keep on buying chocolate and put it in our house or somewhere, eventually it's going to go bad. Does the same thing happen to money? If we just keep on putting money, whether in our house, in a bank, does it go bad or not? What do you guys think? Can money go bad if we just save it? Let's say if we just save it and don't do anything with it.
can we save it forever? Is that what you're asking, Alex?
That's what I'm asking. Should we just keep on saving money forever and not even do anything with it? Does it go bad or no? It's there. It's just money. It's either paper or coin, or once it goes into the bank, it's just a number that's sitting there. What are some of the thoughts?
I will do a follow-up with that and ask, can we take it with us when we are no longer on this earth, right? So if we save it forever, there at some point becomes an ending point to our lives, right? And does the money go with us after we are no longer on earth? Jackie says devaluation. So that is definitely something that is really relevant in a lot of other countries, right? Where you have fluctuations a lot more than we do here in the United States and in Canada as well, in terms of the value of our currencies. Well, we still have some fluctuations, but it's not as drastic as you find in some of the other countries that have more developing economies, where you see that their value of their currency can fluctuate quite a bit and can be devalued quite a bit. But you are correct in terms of the money possibly increasing in value over time, or decreasing in value over time. But I don't think anyone has answered your question, Alex. So I will answer your question.
So I'm gonna put Ken on the spot because he's got more white hair than any of us. So let's see, we'll go from the youngest to the most mature. So Daniel, I'm sure you probably love hamburgers. I know here in US, it costs the minimum amount of money that we have to spend on hamburger is about probably like $5. That's a thing. Ken, when you were 8 years old, do you remember how much you used to pay for hamburger and fries?
I don't eat much hamburgers and fries.
Okay, all right, sorry. All right, you're
I usually spend it like
for a
$5 every month.
Ken, can you hold on one second? Daniel, what's your question?
I usually spend like $5 on hamburgers every month.
Okay,
and
all right, okay, so that's good. So now
I
let's see.
typically eat hamburgers.
Okay, that's fine. All right, that's good that you're healthy. Now let's see. When Ken was your age, I'm not gonna ask him how long ago that was, but Ken, how much would you spend on hamburger and fries when you were
When I was how old?
let's say 10 years old?
You could probably get it for about $1.25. Oh, probably even under $1. I think back then hamburgers at a fast food place were like $8 or like 25 cents, and you could probably get an order of fries for 75 cents or less.
Okay, so $1. So here's how it works. If Ken had kept his dollar when he was 8 years old or 9 years old, I'm sorry, Daniel, you're 9. Thank you for correcting me. So if Ken had kept his dollar,
I'm not ashamed of my age. I'm not 60 yet. I'll be 60 in November. So
okay.
I have no problem disclosing my age.
All right, thank you. So the way it works is that if Ken had kept his dollar and didn't eat that hamburger at that time, there's no way that he could get it now. And that's what happens to money. The dollar bill, the coins they've been the same for many years. But now we can see that the money loses its value. That's what happens in there. Ms. Hazel, did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Oh,
good.
okay.
I'm
Oh, you
good.
were unmuted. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, Ms. Jade.
So I want to say that Daniel also answered your question in the chat. I don't know if you saw it, but about it the money not going with you upon you no longer being on Earth. He said, so legend says the sun will become a huge black and swallow the Earth, and yes, the money will be gone, everything. So that means that if you save it, it doesn't last forever. That is the answer to your question.
There we go.
In a more descriptive way. So I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Kelly says chocolate is sweet, and if you share with others, you enjoy very much. Likewise, money is sweet, and the more you share with others, the more you enjoy your money. All right. And we have some happy belateds going to Daniel, who turned 9 3 days ago as well. So make sure I put that in there. Happy belated birthday, Daniel. All right. So with that, did we talk about the treasure box at all, or anything to do with the 4 categories? I wanted to end with that, Alex. I just want to make sure that I'm not redoing anything.
So what we're going to do, actually, I'm going to share my screen. So we've started giving assignments for both youth and adults. So we are giving our youth allowance. So we started that last week. I'm pulling up my screen. So let's say today is February 5. Again, we're just going to do allowance based on but if you guys are having, if our youth are getting their own allowance, just go ahead and put your own numbers in there. And the way this works, so from last week, I'm going to complete the lines, our balances, and you see how this works. This is 3 and 5. So since I had $5 in my save, and this is the save money that we're going to be pretending that we're putting in our bank, and the bank is a generous bank, is going to give us 5% interest. So for that, I'm going to receive 25 cents in interest. And allowance today, I'm going to again allocate $10 for life necessities. I'll make my screen just a little bigger. You have to be mindful of time too. So the way the worksheet works, you need to add last week's balance plus today's deposit. So this will become 20. I'm feeling a little generous today since we talked about generosity. I'm gonna share $4, make this and do the addition. For future, I'm gonna keep 1 in here and then do 4. So I got $5 left. And this one, I'm going to add 3 numbers, the bottom 3 numbers together, 5, the 5, and 25. Sorry, something's got into my eye that's making me make my tears come. So that's how the register book works. So this is our example, but if you are getting your own allowance, please do that, whether it's on weekly basis or monthly basis, however you're doing it.
So you did explain the difference between deposit and balance in the 4 different categories.
Yes, yeah, we did that last week a little bit. So, and then for our adults, we asked them to begin tracking their weekly income and expenses. So this is something new that we added in here. So we've asked our adults to do the same thing in here. Initially, if they're not already keeping track of their income and expenses on monthly basis, do it on weekly basis, because it's a habit that takes some time to get into. So we record if we get money. Obviously, adults probably don't get any money from their parents or chores. So mostly it's from their jobs. And then most importantly is recording our monthly or weekly expenses. Now, since last week was kind of beginning of the month, we did rent or mortgage. A lot of these we don't necessarily do it every week, but supermarket, I think that is something that is a life necessity, and we have to do every week. Eating out, as much as it's allowed these days, we can eat out. So maybe we've done that. Other expenses is not every time, travel and everything. So I want to open that up. Let me actually go into next week's lesson and give the assignment for next week, and then we'll come back to this.
Okay, while he's doing that, can I call on Joy to see if she has started to do any of the work in the workbook, whether it be in the register book or in the income and expense tracking? Go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself. Joy, are you there?
Okay, while we're waiting for Joy, maybe she can prepare. All right, so next week's lesson plan is about patience. The treasure that we're going to be working on is the treasure of patience, which directly affects our goals in life. So there are 3 main areas in here that we'd like you to begin to populate. This is the first is your personal goal. What is it that you like to accomplish? It can be either a material or a non-material goal. So let's say I'm just going to put an example in here. Today's 2/5, which works the other way. So let's say if I want to buy an iPhone, I'm going to put that in here. The price, let's say the latest iPhone, I think is $1,000. It's good to kind of look at the picture so I know where I'm buying it from, whether it's from Amazon, from other places, so I can put the link in here. Then I kind of have to think about how long is it going to take me to patiently save $1,000. So let's say maybe it's going to take me 1 year, and by then I have to buy the two generations of iPhone from now. What is my plan of action? How is it that I'm going to save this $1,000? Am I going to do extra chores as adults? Maybe get a new job. Obviously not for a cell phone. I hope nobody goes and get a new job for a cell phone, but that could be something. So I'm just going to put in here as from our youth, do more chores. And every time we're trying to achieve a goal, we have to give up something. So maybe that could be play less video game. And the purpose. Why is it that I want a new iPhone? Because often we get tempted and we get enticed. Remember, our temptation and desires are always pulling us away from other goals that we have. Is it because I saw my friend has the latest iPhone? Is it that my current phone has died and I cannot fix it? I cannot live with it? So really defining what is the purpose? Why is it that we want to do it? Or I just want it because I keep on seeing it on TV, on social media. I keep getting advertising. So really defining that purpose in there. So everyone you have, I think, room for 6. You can do as many as you want, personal goals. Then you can do this if you're in a family situation. You can come up with family goals. What is it that as a family you would like to accomplish? And the importance of that is that everyone needs to come on board. Everybody needs to agree, oh, this is a goal that we're going to be working on together for however long it's going to take. In the bottom area in here, this is the area that we talk about, continue talking about this more. We're always investing in our future, whether we were in our mother's womb, whether during our childhood years, during the working years, and then when we get to our golden years or retirement age, and then again, for those that believe in life beyond this earth, once we leave this earth, what is going to happen to us? What's the goal that's happening there? And then finally, your last assignment is to come up. How would we? What would we like to be known by once we are dead? Do we want to be remembered by anything? Something nice that we have done for others. It's not about becoming a doctor, but maybe healing the sick. If our passion is to educate others, yes, we need to become a teacher, but then the goal is not just to become a teacher, but to educate the illiterate in them. So these are your assignments. The other one is also make sure you talk to someone, hopefully outside this group. Definitely talk to the parents or to your children, but then also it would be great if you can talk to someone outside the group as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. I know I'm supposed to let you guys know what is the most dangerous muscle in our body.
We're not going to let you end the session until I know Daniel's not going to. So he's been patiently waiting. I've been patiently waiting as well.
Yep, exactly. All right, so let me start with this one. Which one do you think is the most important muscle in our body?
Well, before you do that, let's make sure we don't have any questions about the lesson, today's lesson, or the homework. Let's make sure we do take care of business first, right, Alex?
Sounds good. All right.
So I put it in the chat, but if there's any questions about what we discussed today in today's lesson or the homework that Alex has gone over, feel free to either put it in the chat or unmute yourself and we will address it. Otherwise, we will just go ahead and end with the most dangerous muscle.
All right.
Daniel has already put his thoughts in the chat. So
the most important muscle is the heart, and the most dangerous muscle is the tongue.
Ken got it. Ken wins the prize. He's absolutely right. Our heart is the most important muscle. Without it, we cannot live. And our tongue can be so dangerous. We can hurt so many people by what we say, not necessarily what we do, but what we say. That can definitely hurt others. So Ken, you win a prize. I gotta give you something.
I want to know, is that from your own wisdom, Ken, or did you use Google? Did Siri help you?
I'm a pharmacist, so.
Got it. So that is your own wisdom.
Yep. So that was very cool. Just one thing, if you ever have any problem with your worksheet, you cannot type in or whatever, please let me know before class. And again, we cannot overemphasize the importance of doing your assignments. I know several people were doing them like this afternoon, and that's called procrastination. So really, you have a whole week to do your assignments, and these assignments are really designed to practice what we are presenting into the classroom. They're so important. They're not just something that, oh, well, if I do it, because that's how we learn. When we practice, when we do these assignments, that's how we learn, especially since you're doing them based on your personal life and what's happening to you. We're not asking you to be hypothetical. We're asking you, what is your goal? What would you like to accomplish? So please, as much as you can, and you have the whole week to do one. And let us know if you have any problem. You all can get a hold of me very easily.
Well, with that, I think we are finished. I hope you guys learned something from today's lesson, and I look forward to, I will be teaching a couple of some of the later lessons as well. But feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions between now and next Friday. And have a good weekend, everyone.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Mr.
Alex.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, Alex.
Yes.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yes.
I hope it's nice to meet you, sir. Okay, for Zoom meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for registering and participating. Hopefully, are you going to be able to attend every week?
Every Friday, yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. We look forward to seeing you next Friday. And did
Yeah.
you get the link to your worksheet?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It was. I'll send it to you via text again. It was emailed to you. But if you didn't receive it, I'll send it to you via text. So I'll do that.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. We'll see you next week.
All right. See
All
you.
right. Bye.